Govind, Secretary INB Shri Sanjay Jaju, Secretary Power Shri Pankaj Agarwal, Secretary DP IIT Shri Amardeep Singh Bhatia, and Secretary Road Transport and Highways Shri V. Umashankar. The format of the today's press briefing will be like this. First, Cabinet Secretary will give opening remarks, and then we will take questions from the media. Now, I request Cabinet Secretary, sir, to give opening remarks.
Now it's working. You should know which button to press. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friends from the media, let me begin by wishing all of you, your families, and our great nation a very happy new year. And may this be a year of progress, happiness for all of us. I'm here today to mark a very significant milestone in an initiative which has been transformative to India's governance, which is that 2 days ago, we had the 50th review by the Prime Minister under what is called PRAGATI, which is proactive governance for timely implementation. This is a system which has now been in force for 10 years, and I'm here to brief you about it. The background is that, and this is something all of you know very well, large time and cost overruns have been a chronic problem in India's public projects and schemes. The main cause of these chronic overruns in both the time taken to complete a project and the cost of the project vis-a-vis what was originally budgeted have been three key coordination issues. Firstly, the horizontal coordination between central ministries, because most of these large projects involve activities or actions by different ministries in the Government of India. Secondly, there's an issue of coordination between the center, the state, and local governments, which may be municipalities, panchayats, and so on. Thirdly, there is an issue of horizontal coordination between the different departments of the state government, because state governments, like the center, have multiple departments who may be involved in getting a project done. So these three coordination problems have been at the root of many of the delays and cost overruns that have happened. The Prime Minister conceptualized PRAGATI as a comprehensive solution to this problem across the tiers of government, and India is a federal country where different tiers have different powers and different responsibilities. On the occasion of the launch of PRAGATI on 25th March 2015, he said, and I have the quotation there, "Today the whole world is observing India keenly. It is imperative that governance in India becomes more efficient and responsive. The PRAGATI platform is a step in this direction." And as you can see, PRAGATI stands for proactive governance and timely implementation. The objective of PRAGATI is to improve center-center and center-state coordination in order to, firstly, fast-track critical infrastructure projects which face issues and bottlenecks. Secondly, improve the outcomes in flagship schemes which may be showing suboptimal performance or which might require structural reforms. And thirdly, assess and resolve important categories of citizen grievances across various sectors of the government. To give you an overview of how it works, it is basically a mechanism which deploys a technology-based platform for project monitoring, for citizens' grievance redressal, and for reviewing scheme implementation, but it does this through active collaboration of central ministries and state government. So it is not confined to one department or to one tier of government. The same mechanism covers all and all tiers. This mechanism also hosts other platforms such as PM Gati Shakti, the Parivesh portal of the Ministry of Environment and Forests, and the PM Ref portal, which deals with projects where the foundation stone was laid by the Prime Minister and tracks them. As you know, PM Gati Shakti is a multi-layer geospatial information data set. It has over 600 layers of geospatial data. It can tell you where there is a pipeline, where there's an electricity cable, where there is a road, and therefore you can plan projects avoiding as many things as you can avoid, rather than first planning to do something and then making a course correction during implementation. It can also help plan projects in a way that you avoid forest land, you avoid obstacles, and so on. This is also a key part of this whole Pragati ecosystem. Apart from the activities which happen through the ministries and through this portal, at the apex of the Pragati system, the Prime Minister personally chairs Pragati review meetings. In these meetings, he deals directly with Chief Secretaries of all the states and the Secretaries of all central departments and ministries who come together at these reviews to address issues in specific projects or schemes. 50 such review meetings have been held so far, and the 50th was held day before yesterday, which is why we are here to brief you today. So there is a project and issue escalation mechanism which is at the heart of the Pragati system. Based on the nature of a problem, it gets escalated to a particular level. So at the start, you have the user agency which is actually implementing the project. If they have an issue or a problem that requires resolution, they upload. First of all projects are uploaded on the system, but the ones that need issue resolution, the issue is uploaded on the PMG portal, the Project Management Group portal. The ministry which deals with that particular project looks at what has been raised and updates its information on the portal. Thereafter, the project monitoring group looks at the data that's available, discusses the problem with the implementing agency, with the relevant ministries and the state government, and thereafter it escalates it to the Department for the Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade, which is DPIIT. A review happens at the level of the Secretary of DPIIT. In some cases, problems get resolved at that level. If it is not resolved, it gets escalated to level 3, which is in the Cabinet Secretariat, where the Secretary Coordination convenes meetings or intervenes with the respective states and ministries, particularly on delayed projects and projects which have critical issues that have not got resolved at earlier levels. Beyond that, if it still requires further attention, it is raised with the monitoring group in the Prime Minister's office, which also has a minister attached to it. And finally, for the most important and or the most difficult projects, the matter is escalated for a review by the Prime Minister in one of these meetings, of which 50 have been held so far. So the process has multiple levels of resolution, with the Prime Minister at the apex for the most difficult and the most intractable issues. After the Pragati meeting, there is a follow-up mechanism. There's a multi-tier follow-up mechanism again, which ensures that what was decided in the Pragati review is actually implemented. Projects are tracked and monitored by the Cabinet Secretariat, while schemes and grievances are reviewed by individual ministries, and there is continuous oversight from the Prime Minister's office. Now, as you're aware, capital expenditure has shown a dramatic growth in the last decade, from 4.26 lakh crores in 2014-15 to 15.53 lakh crores in 2025-26. This is the sum of government and central public sector undertakings. It has increased by a factor of 3.6. So to effectively spend money on capital projects, it is not enough to increase the capital outlay in the budget. it is also necessary to be able to implement projects, to settle tenders, to complete land acquisition, to actually pour cement and build and construct. That is often more difficult than simply allocating money. And I would say, without exaggeration, that without the Pragati system, it might have been very difficult to actually deliver on the capital outlay increase. It might have been possible to provide budgets, but to get them actually spent probably would not have happened if we had not had the Pragati system. So Pragati, the portfolio of projects that the Pragati system has handled, so it has accelerated implementation of both projects and welfare schemes. It's not confined to projects. It covers programs, schemes also. But in terms of projects, it has so far covered over 3,300 projects worth 85 lakh crores. This includes both projects which had a problem and projects which did not have a problem. I am not suggesting that all 3,300 faced problems, but this is the portfolio of projects that Pragati has handled in this period of time. 61 government schemes other than projects have also been reviewed in Pragati. They include schemes such as the One Nation, One Ration Card, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, the PM Swanidhi Yojana, and the Swachh Bharat Mission. These are just examples of the 61 that have been covered. In Pragati, we also take up classes of grievances, not individual grievances, but classes of grievances that are found to be numerous or taking time to resolve. And some of the issues where grievances have been taken up in Pragati include those related to the coronavirus epidemic in 2020, 21, 22, RERA, the Real Estate Regulatory Agency, banking and insurance grievances, grievances related to Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana and the Jan Dhan Yojana. These are again just examples. 36 different classes of grievances have been reviewed in Pragati over these years. This is a snapshot of the number of issues that have been raised and resolved. So if you look at the graph on the left-hand side, we have taken up 7,735 issues in the various projects that have been covered by this system, and out of which 7,156 have so far been resolved. And if we look at the resolved issues, 73% relate to only 3 topics. The largest number, 35%, is on land acquisition. The second largest is on forest, wildlife, and environmental clearances. And the third is on issues of right of use or right of way, by which I mean the ability to lay a transmission line or a pipeline across someone's land. And how do you get permission for that to be done? The other issues occupy the balance of 27% of issues that were resolved. Now, if we look at a subset of projects that were personally reviewed by the Prime Minister at the apex of the system, 382 of the most complex or difficult projects have been reviewed by the Prime Minister in the 50 meetings. These involved 637 contractual packages or sections. 3,187 issues were raised by the agencies, of which 2,958 have been resolved up to now. Of course, some of the unresolved issues were also those raised in the last meeting 2 days ago, so they are yet to go through the cycle of resolution. In a sense, one issue has been resolved for every working day. And the issues that we are talking about are not very small. These are, by the time they get escalated to the Prime Minister, these are usually difficult issues. And yet, I'm happy to report that on an average, we are able to solve one of these issues every working day. The picture here is similar. 71% of the issues related to land acquisition or to forest, wildlife, or environmental clearances or right of use or right of way. But there are other difficulties such as construction approvals, getting approval for power or utilities, law and order, financial issues, and other issues. The sectoral breakup of the Pragati projects which the Prime Minister has reviewed, 382 projects were reviewed, of which 114 related to roads and highways, 109 to railways, and 54 to power. That is why we have those 3 secretaries here for this press conference. They are the largest beneficiaries of the Pragati system. There have also been many projects related to petroleum, coal, housing, health and family welfare, Jal Shakti, some related to external affairs, steel, and 18 from other sectors. Let me give you a picture, a very simple sort of set of examples of how Pragati actually has worked. So let's first take this very critical project of the Jammu, Udhampur, Srinagar, Baramulla rail link project, a project that has been critical not merely as a transportation project, as a strategic project for the integration of India. So this project was approved in 1994. It was first taken up for review in Pragati on 24th June 2015, at which time the physical progress of the project was 40%. So basically over 21 years, it had achieved 40% progress. It was then reviewed again in 2019 and finally in 2020 and commissioned on 6th June 2025. I'll now draw your attention to the graph on the right-hand side, on the top right-hand side. The blue line shows how the physical progress actually moved. The dotted orange line is a projection of what time it would have taken had it continued at its original pace, which it followed between 1994 and 2015. So if you make a hypothetical assumption that the project continues to progress at that pace, it would actually have been completed approximately in 2039, which is about 14 years from now. That was the pace at which it was moving. But as you can see, the blue line shows a drastic acceleration after the project is taken up in Pragati, and it got finished in 2025. So, and it's already in operation now for the last 6 to 7 months. This is again a very large and very complex project, 272 kilometers of rail line through some of the most difficult terrain in the world, costing 42,760 crores, 38 tunnels of a length of 119 kilometers, and the longest tunnel is of 12.77 kilometers. It has 943 bridges across deep gorges and rivers, and we have a picture there of the world's highest railway arch bridge, 359 meters above the level of the river that it is crossing. The second example is the Navi Mumbai International Airport. It was approved in July 2007. It was first taken up in Pragati in March 2015, at which time the physical progress was a grand 0% in the first 8 years. It then was taken up again for review in Pragati in 2021, was commissioned about a week ago, costing 19,646 crores. But again, you can see the blue line and the hypothetical orange line as to how long it might have taken if it had not accelerated. And my last example is another very critical project for the Northeast, the Bogibeel Rail-cum-Road Bridge over the mighty Brahmaputra River. Approved in March 1997, first reviewed in Pragati in May 2015, at which time physical progress was 64%, and finally commissioned in 2018. Again, you can see the acceleration that happened after it was taken up in Pragati, 0 to 64%, and then it reaches 100% approximately 2.5 years after it was reviewed in Pragati. And the orange line would have taken you to about 1 year from now is when it might have finished if it continued at the pace that it had taken till then. Pragati has now settled down so well that there's been an external case study by the Said Business School of Oxford University, and you can see the cover of that study there, and it's titled From Gridlock to Growth, How Leadership Enables India's Pragati Ecosystem to Power Progress. The web link to this report is also provided on this slide, and I'm told that PIB will give you copies of these if you wish to refer to this report. What this study has identified as some of the characteristics or highlights of the Pragati system, firstly, it says it's a transformative digital governance platform that has strengthened senior level accountability and fast-tracked long-pending infrastructure and social sector projects. Why is it strengthening accountability? Because in these meetings, especially at the apex level Prime Minister's meetings, the Chief Secretary or the Secretary of the Government of India Ministry is directly giving the Prime Minister a commitment on when something will happen and when it will be finished. And this is something which officers take with greater seriousness than something that is not at that level. So it is actually a very personal accountability that arises when these projects get taken up there. The study says that this is a global benchmark and a single source of truth for real-time project monitoring, because every agency knows what the status is by looking at the same portal. It's not that we think it is 24%, they say it is 28%. It can't be different because we are operating the same information. They've described it as a global best practice and a replicable model for developing economies that can drive infrastructure delivery, economic growth, and improved public trust. And finally, they have described it as an institution in cooperative federalism, bringing states, union territories, administration, and central ministries onto one platform, ensuring apolitical, uniform attention to projects. So now I will hand over to three of my colleagues, the Chairman, Railway Board first, followed by the Secretary, Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and lastly by the Secretary, Ministry of Power, to give you some further details about the issues resolved in their respective sectors, after which we will be happy to take your questions. Thank you.
Good evening. As already mentioned by Chief Secretary CAPSAC, as far as the Indian Railway is concerned, if you just see the figures for the railways, it was the 427 projects, and roughly 38% of that has been completed. It is really remarkable. And rest of others are also in the advanced stage of completion, and such reviews plays a very important role. What CAPSAC has already mentioned, that if you just see the number of issues involved, there was 1568, and out of that 37 has already been resolved. Issues largely related to the land acquisitions, forests, right-of-ways, they are the very important one. But other than that also, there may be even the small items may held up the project. That's why such reviews becomes so much important. And it is not only the review. After the review, a lot of reviews are being taken, so that a lot of monitoring is there, so that those issues are finally settled. And that is how such projects had already mentioned. While only 2 of the such projects have been mentioned for Indian Railways, there are many such where the speed has been accelerated in the manner that we are now seeing the fruits of the projects, and they are giving the benefit to the local, to the general people. Now, if I just deliberate on this slide, what has actually happened due to all these reviews, and if you just see the kind of capex growth, it is 370%. It is not only in these 10 years, even in the current year, Indian Railway, as in December, they've already spent 80% of the capex. That is remarkable. And more importantly, our 98% of the broad gauge is now electrified, and 68 Vande Bharat trains, which are running 164 of the services, flagship trains of Indian Railways, and they are serving all of us. If you see the kind of new tracks which are available, which has been added in last 10 years, is 31,000. It is remarkable. And if you just see on the bottom, it is not only the new track what has been added, even the older track has also been renewed for the safety requirement. And what effect it has on the movement of the freight, if you just see the bottom middle, lower middle, if you just see the kind of traffic we have handled, it is 14,200 million tons. And if you just compare it to 2004 to 14, it is 8,473 increase, just almost to the double. And we already have achieved the elimination of the unmanned level crossings of the broad gauge network. It is one of the important contribution to all the people of our country. Otherwise, many accidents used to take place earlier, and this was a program of the government that we have taken up this project, Indian Railways taken, and in the record time, all unmanned level crossings on the broad gauge has been eliminated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways has been one of the largest contributors to the Pragati ecosystem and has also been the biggest beneficiary of the Pragati initiative in terms of the number of projects that it has been able to take up and complete. As the slide mentions, out of the total of 1463 projects, 458 have been commissioned and 937 are in various stages of implementation. There are only 127 issues of 103 projects that are still alive. And when we look at the number of projects that have been taken up and the number of issues that are still alive, the impact of the Pragati system really becomes clear and apparent. As in most cases, the biggest problem used to be land acquisition and secondly, forest clearances. In the construction of highways, the largest acquirers of land presently in the country does appear to be the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and resolution of a whole lot of these land acquisition problems has led to a faster implementation of projects. Also, of the projects that have been personally reviewed by the Honorable Prime Minister, there are only 5 projects which still have alive issues. And out of these 5 projects, 3 are expected to be completed by March. So the impetus that has been given to resolution of problems as a result of the review that has happened at various levels through the Pragati system, the biggest beneficiary has been the road sector. Insofar as the network itself is concerned, in fact, I must mention that quite a few of you all have already reported the fact that the number of delayed projects has come down significantly over this period of time, and the projects that were delayed above 3 years is now in the mid 2 digits, where it used to be in excess of 300 projects. Now we are talking about projects in the range of 50 odd projects, and many of them are likely to be completed as we go along. So in terms of the network growth, the highways network has seen a 60% growth over the last 11 years, and the reach of the national highways is visible across the country. In terms of construction, the pace of construction had also accelerated, and you had a lot of new players who came into the construction sector, which really pushed up the pace of construction. High-speed corridors, which was a new innovation that was developed over the last 8-9 years, is now seeing a rapid growth. And every year now you're seeing almost about 1,500 kilometers of the high-speed corridors being completed and delivered on the ground. In terms of the budgetary support, again, the Ministry of Road Transport is the largest recipient of budgetary funds. And there has been a 570% growth over the last 10 years, which has actually propelled the highway construction across the country. Rural connectivity has also not been missed out, and it has seen a tremendous growth. There have been 7.8 lakh kilometers of rural connectivity roads that have been constructed as a result of the direct funding that has been provided by the central government. Clearly, the Pragati ecosystem has led to a much faster and a much more smoothened implementation time frame insofar as highways projects are concerned. Thank you. Thanks.
The Ministry of Power posed 416 projects under the Pragati monitoring system. I'm happy to inform that 237 projects have already been commissioned. Most of the issues we faced are related to right-of-way, forest and wildlife clearance, and also the land acquisition. About 70% of the issues relate to these 3 areas. In terms of number of issues which have been addressed, you will notice that more than 90% of the issues have already been addressed. In terms of outcome, I would like to invite your attention that the country has achieved the 500 gigawatt plus of installed capacity in the country. On the bottom left chart, you can notice that the growth of renewable energy in the country has been phenomenal, and we have already been now at the 3rd and the 4th rank in the world. I am further happy to inform that as of now, end of the November 2025, we had a total installed capacity of renewable energy of 254 gigawatt out of the total installed capacity of 509 gigawatt. In terms of reliability, whatever network we have built, ultimately it results into the quality of supply to the customers. The shortages have already reduced from a high of more than 4% to now 0.1%. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now we will take questions, and from the front row, 3 questions we will take at a time, and then answer will be one by one first.
Sir, I'm Deepak from Times of India. I have 2 questions on what Cabinet Secretary talked about. Land acquisition is one of the biggest problem. I think Prime Minister had given an instruction to you that a capsule should be prepared for newly appointed DCs in districts, so that they can be trained how to go for land acquisition. Has that been done so that they can be trained in Mussoorie Academy? Second question about PM, I think in 2020 or 21 had said that time has come that we need to shift from Pragati to second level of Pragati, because if you see, number of Pragati meetings in a year has come down very drastically. So what will be the next level of Pragati that you are planning?
Yes, 11. Yeah.
Arun Kumar Das. My question is for the Chairman Railway Board, sir. Sir, this NHRCL project, which was conceived in 2016 at 1.08 lakh crore, now it is 5 years delayed, obviously cost overrun. So how much it is pegged at? Is it touching 2 lakh crore or more than that?
Last.
Sir, I'm KM Sharma from Bharat Express. My question is from Cabinet Secretary, sir. Sir, you talked about the cooperative federalism. There are so many states where the governments are from the different parties, and they particularly hinder in the process of land acquisition and other projects which can benefit the Indians, but not as a state that doesn't suit them. Then what you do in that case?
Thank you.
Okay. So first on the training for young officers, the National Academy of Administration is preparing a module, and already they have training. They are doing a revamped module for training officers on land acquisition, and this module incorporates the various things that we have learnt from the experience in Pragati also. The number has not come down drastically. It is, if you see on an average, it is at least 1 every 2 months, if you look at the frequency. There are, of course, periods of elections, etc., when it becomes difficult to hold the meetings. But there is no reduction, and of course, what has happened is the system has become more efficient. The learning curve has been crossed, and so now it's hinging more on both preparation and implementation than on the personal meetings that need to be done. So the impact is actually greater now than it was in the earlier years. Before handing over to Chairman Railway Board, your question on states. To be very frank, Pragati, and by the way, the Oxford University study also mentions this, is a very apolitical institution. I must tell you that we find no difference between chief secretaries of one kind of politically governed state and another. And chief secretaries and officers have been quite responsive across the board. And most of the time, delays are not deliberate. Even in the case, whether the state is of one political dispensation or another, it is usually, as I said, the key problem is coordination. It is not a willing, most states want the roads to come to their state. They want the scheme to be implemented in their state. They want the railway line to be constructed. It's not that they're deliberately delaying its, that is actually a myth. I have not found that in our Pragati meetings. Most states are actually interested in completing a project that is happening in their state, and the bureaucracy in the state has typically, I have not found any great qualitative difference between one kind of state and another kind of state. All the chief secretaries have been very responsive, and that has cut across any party lines in terms of which states we have been doing. That's one of the, I would say, achievements or successes of the Pragati system.
now Railway Board Chairman. Yeah, would you like to add? Yes, please.
On the issue of training for land acquisition, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways through ASCI in Hyderabad sponsors officers at the cutting edge level, the competent authorities, and the numbers that are trained every year is in the region of about 200 to 250. There is a 15-day training capsule through which training on actual processes of land acquisition are carried through. This is through ASCI.
Yes, for NHRCL high-speed project, I just wanted to mention while the final sanction of the second revised estimate yet to be done, it is approximately, it will be around 1,98,000 crore, right? Right. So, but it still is under revision, so I will just, it's approximate figures, so yet to be finally approved by the cabinet. Shortly, within a month or two.
So, from center, we'll take Sapna ji. Start with the front row.
So very good evening. Thank you so much for meeting all of us. So just wanted to understand, Pragati in the context of how CAPEX has turned out to be, and you mentioned those numbers. So over the next 2 to 3 years, what kind of further capacity absorption or generation is the government expecting? So, basically, I'm trying to ask about the number as well, and you are grinning, you have got it. But I mean, on a broader canvas, where do we see this going forward in the next 2 to 3 years? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. She was Sapna from CNBC. Yes, please introduce yourself. Front, here. After that.
सर मैं शैलेश यादव हूँ ANI से सर। सर आप बता रहे थे कि 85 लाख करोड़ के प्रोजेक्ट जो है इस प्रगति में क्लियर हुए हैं, तो और प्रोजेक्ट इसमें 94, 98 टाइम के थे, तो कितने इससे कॉस्ट बढ़ी है टोटल प्रोजेक्ट की?
Yes, 189 last.
So this is Deepshika from Economic Times. We've had 50 meetings of Pragati so far. So after 50 meetings, has like a template being developed or devised on all the issues and what the solutions are, so that we don't require a Pragati to resolve those issues?
Thank you. Sir.
So on the CAPEX trajectory for the next 3 years, you should ask that in your budget press conference, which I won't be able to tell you. But I can tell you that what the Pragati system has done is that the capacity to execute projects has become much higher. And so it is actually a virtuous cycle. If you have the capacity to execute projects, then budgets can be increased. And if budgets are increased, you will then be able to spend it. But the ability to actually get a project implemented in a democracy like India, we are not a dictatorship, we are a democracy. We have to consult our citizens, we have to get citizen consent for all these projects that we do. And when you say land acquisition is done through the law and through the various provisions for consultation, involvement of the public. That is how we do land acquisition. So that capacity being increased has been critical to the success of the infrastructure build-out. On the CAPEX trajectory, I mean, you are a very seasoned journalist, but I'm also quite an old bureaucrat. So we will leave that to the budget discussion. I'm sure you'll get the numbers then. On the cost overrun, जो आपने पूछा है, I don't think we have an aggregate cost overrun. हमारे पास वो नहीं है.
Some of the projects are still continuing. So some of the projects are still continuing, but it can range from anywhere between 15-20%. In some cases it is more. Some cases only 2-3%. And in some cases there is no cost overrun, but there is a time overrun. So it depends across various sectors.
And there is also a preventive, that some of these projects, we have prevented the time and cost overrun because they've been raised promptly. And because of that, before it becomes, especially on the critical or highly, prestigious projects, things get escalated before they get into a problem. So we've had one of those in this last 50th Pragati meeting. There is a project which is on schedule, but an incipient problem that might arise or is arising, we want to nip it in the bud before it holds up the project. So, and the last question was the template. So, see, any repetitive type of problem, you can develop a template. But as I said at the beginning, often the issue is of, public being involved. What are the views of the public? It needs attention. It needs attention from the local government. It needs attention from the state government. Sometimes it needs attention from the central government. So that is something which, even if you prepare a template, you can prepare a template for standard technical or procedural irritants that have come up, and there's a continuous process of learning in Pragati, which has in fact led to a higher level of performance. But also we are now doing more complex projects. So, for example, this high-speed rail is the first time we are doing high-speed rail. The next time we do high-speed rail, we will have a better template to use, and so on. So, because we are also moving up the curve of complexity. The projects we are doing in 2025 are not the same kinds of projects using the same kind of technology that we were using in 2014. So it's a continuous learning curve, but yes, templates do get developed. So at each Pragati meeting, we have specific instructions that some of them come directly from the Prime Minister, some are from our own learnings, which say that hereafter, this is how you handle this issue. And that leads to a continuous improvement, and it is our objective to keep improving. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
239.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Shishir here from Hindu Business Line. Sir, you talked about that various projects, had that not been part of the Pragati, it would have gone to 2039 or 2047. So what kind of saving you have after commissioning of all the projects which you have taken under Pragati, sir? Thank you, sir.
Next.
सर मैं तरुण शर्मा हूँ मेरे दो सवाल हैं एक सवाल है सर ये जो प्रगति था ये इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए था क्या इसी तरीके का रेप्लिका हम मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के लिए देख सकते हैं जो नेशनल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग मिशन है उसके अंदर और दूसरा सवाल मेरा पावर सेक्रेटरी से है क्या सर पीपीएस और जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जो दो पावर के मेन इश्यूज हैं क्या वो प्रगति के अंदर कभी डिस्कस हुए या उससे कोई सॉल्यूशन निकल के आया थैंक यू
Next.
Sir, I'm Pragya from Times Now. We understand that this is about, removing all the hurdles in implementation of the project. But do you also get feedback on the quality of the project? And if not, do you have a plan to do that also? Because ultimately the quality of the project becomes very important when it goes to public.
Thank you.
So first on the savings from Pragati, actually it's an interesting suggestion. We haven't, I think, done a comprehensive study. Something that could be done, and that is, we could certainly estimate the counterfactual had this not been done. And there are two elements to that saving. One element is the avoidance of cost increase or time overrun. But when you avoid a time overrun, there is an extra public benefit. The value of that service or the convenience which the public has enjoyed for a longer period because the project was completed faster. Typically, we ignore this second aspect. In fact, sometimes when we look only at costs, we forget that early completion means early benefit to the public, which is also something which needs to be assessed. And I think it's a good suggestion, we should think about it. Coming to the question of manufacturing mission, see, up to now, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, yes, sorry, you wanted to say.
Component of private sector projects also in Pragati, which are reviewed and issues taken up with the state also. And in this we have taken 195 projects till now, worth around 10.57 lakh crores, and we could settle 796 issues. There were a total of 852 which were raised. And these are in various sectors. These are also in sectors, infrastructure sectors also, in manufacturing also, steel sector for example, coal also, then petroleum and natural gas also, and in mines also. So there are various varieties of sectors which are covered in the private sector currently also. Just wanted to add that.
Thank you. So just to add to that, as I showed you, there are multiple levels in the Pragati process. There is a level 1, then a level 2, level 3, and then the final level of review by the Prime Minister. Generally, and I mean, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm almost certain that the projects that are reviewed at the Prime Minister's level are generally public sector or PPP projects, where there is a government linkage. But private sector projects do go through the Pragati system, and they are... Yeah. below that level, as I said, there are multiple layers of project. Those are reviewed at the other levels and they have been resolved. So Pragati includes that whole system. The review by the Prime Minister is for the limited number, but those are generally public sector or PPP projects. Coming to, then there was a,
See, on the distribution viability, yes, we didn't pose it for Pragati review, but surely Honorable Prime Minister reviewed this issue on the 3rd of December. About the PPAs, it is for the ministries, actually Ministry of Power and Ministry of MNRE. Actually, both of us are working on the issue of PPAs for the new renewable energy projects. Thank you.
On quality, your question on quality. So in projects, we normally don't take citizen feedback on the quality because quality is something technical, concrete, was it properly, cured, poured, etc. That is, you need expert feedback for that. But remember, I told you that we also review schemes in Pragati. So I listed a number of schemes, multiple schemes. In schemes, they do take citizen feedback as to whether Matru Vandana Yojana, are they getting the benefits on time? What are the complaints? What are the difficulties that citizens are facing? So while the pictures that I showed are on projects, because it's not easy to give you nice, attractive pictures on schemes. But if we look at the schemes, there have been a lot of schemes which have been reviewed, and there we do explicitly look for and take citizen feedback. And that is then reviewed as to why is this feedback coming. We also have specific Pragati agenda items on grievances. So class of grievances could be passport application. So then also we look at all the CP gram grievances on passports. There was if you see Ministry of External Affairs, one of the issues was passport. So why is there a problem on passports? We review the CP grams, which is the public grievance portal, and look at the reasons. What are they saying? Why are they saying they are suffering? And all of this gets discussed in the Prime Minister's Pragati review. So citizen feedback is part of the process, but mainly for schemes and grievances, not so much for projects where there is a technical quality control system.
Thank you, sir. Right flank se 167. Okay, 272.
Hi, sir. Siddharth from the Indian Express. A couple of quick questions. One,
name. You don't want to tell
Siddharth
me
from the Indian Express. Sorry, Siddharth from the Indian Express.
Siddharth from Indian Express.
Couple of quick questions. One, is there any minimum threshold for cost before any project enters Pragati? Second, just going by the examples you gave, they're from the 90s and early 2000s. Have projects after the mechanism was formed 2014, have they been taken up? Or essentially what I want to know is, after what time do you start looking at projects or is it as and when problems crop up? Thanks.
First one.
190.
Hello, Mr. Somanathan. I am Aditi Tandon from the Tribune. I have two questions, sir. The first question is, you said the learning curve has been crossed. So what in your system have been the 3 top learnings of Pragati over these 10 years? In the form of takeaways that will matter to a layman and also to industry at large and other governments. The second question I'll ask on the behalf of commuters between Delhi and Gurugram. We've seen massive projects being completed, but sir, the issue of decongestion between the top 2 cities where we reside, Delhi, Gurugram, this decongestion has run into several editions. We've written about it repeatedly, and we've heard this project, that project. By when do we expect decongestion between the 2 cities, which still takes 2 hours to commute? One side in traffic hour, sometimes 3 hours. So if these 2 questions can be answered. Thank you.
272.
सर, मैं संजय शर्मा हूँ इंडिया न्यूज़ से। सर, सरकार की किसी स्कीम में तो कुछ सवाल नहीं आएंगे मेरे, लेकिन मैं थोड़ा सा जानना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि पब्लिक दिल्ली में लगातार जो पॉल्यूशन की समस्या लगभग अब परमानेंट बन चुकी है, सरकार की किसी स्कीम का हिस्सा तो नहीं होगी, लेकिन क्या इसके लिए भी प्रगति में कुछ बात हो सकती है? एक दूसरी चीज़, दिल्ली और दिल्ली के आसपास एनसीआर में लगभग 50,000 से ज़्यादा फ्लैट्स खाली पड़े हुए हैं। जो मकान लेना चाहते हैं वो लोग परेशान हैं क्योंकि उनको अभी तक उनके प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट नहीं हुए, डिले प्रोजेक्ट चल रहे हैं 10-15 साल और लोग परेशान हैं। जो बायर्स हैं वो परेशान हैं, कई लोग कोर्ट में धक्के खा रहे हैं, 10-10 साल से कोर्ट में केसेस चल रहे हैं, क्या किसी तरीके से इन लोगों को राहत देने की भी बात हो सकती है प्रगति में? थैंक यू।
Thank you. First the threshold.
So इस पूरे सिस्टम में the minimum threshold is 500 crores. So any project which is more than 500 crores is then reviewed in the PMG and the Pragati system. Now the second question was, when do we start looking at the project? The default is when there is an issue. So whenever there is an issue, it's the project proponent, the user agency, they will raise the issue and then it will be monitored. Recently, we have also started looking at other projects which do not have an issue, but there is a time overrun or there is a cost escalation which has been there. So recently, we have also started that. But the default method is that whenever there is an issue, we start looking at it.
On your question on the 3 top learnings from Pragati, I would say one which has led to a systemic improvement which has led to the system that we have now, is that we need more accurate information on what you actually encounter when executing a project. So if you're laying a power line from A to B, or you're planning a gas pipeline from C to D, what are the physical, features that you will encounter in its implementation? Traditionally, we have relied on detailed project reports which are prepared by consultants. So they do some topographical survey, then they say, okay, you will have to do this, you will have to do that. But they have often done it with incomplete information. And so many of the things which they assume in the detailed project report are not actually implementable, because on the way you encounter something which was not envisaged in the detailed project report. So lesson number 1 is improved quality of DPRs, which I think all the ministries have worked on. Much more detailing at the time of project planning leads to much faster execution. A second corollary of this very important development is the PM Gati Shakti portal. So there we now have geospatial information on many things which are actually relevant to the quick execution of a project, so that the project planning considers many of these physical issues before we start awarding contracts, and you don't end up that halfway through the contract you find out that something is obstructing or cannot be executed on time. So these are 2 important learnings. The third is that we have found that it is important to build up land banks for afforestation, because many times if you're using even small extents of forest land for an infrastructure project, you need to do compensatory afforestation. So we have moved to a system of developing land banks so that the moment the project is sanctioned, you can start planting your trees rather than starting to look for a piece of land after you start executing. So these would be some of the... I am sorry, I don't have the figure with me. I'm aware of the learnings in principle. I don't have the statistics with me at this moment. On the Delhi Gurugram, I don't have any comments, unless you would like to. Yeah.
A quick short response is essentially the funneling of the traffic through a single road, which is, and also the rapid growth that's happening in the neighborhood of Delhi. Of course, the opening of the Dwarka Expressway and another channel got opened, but that has not mitigated this problem. So we'll have to look at a third axis. And the only part of that problem is that it will traverse through a part of the Aravalis. So there is a certain degree of environmental sensitivity by which we are able to handle this problem. But the key origin of this problem is funneling of the entire traffic that is flowing south into one road.
Thank you. From the left side.
No, there's one more question. That is, on pollution is neither a project nor a scheme, and nor is it something that is, it's not a solution that can emanate directly from a government action. So it's not really amenable to the Pragati process. And as for the delayed projects, well, I think, as I said, there are certain kinds of private sector projects where a government intervention is needed, or a government clearance is needed, which are the most amenable to Pragati. But if it's a private to private matter, there is not much leverage for the Pragati system.
Thank you, sir. From next side, yes.
Sir, Asim CNBC आवाज से. Sir, so far आपने 7,000 से ज़्यादा issues resolve किए. Just wanted to get a sense कि year on year जो issues है वो ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं या कम हो गए हैं पहले के मुकाबले?
Next,
13.
Sir, Premanshu from Anand Bazar Patrika. Sir, the data shows that the most of the problems are with land acquisition. So do you think that now there is a time to amendment for the Land Acquisition Act or the rules for the government projects? And secondly, sir, do you think that there is a need for Pragati-style mechanism in the states, whether you have discussed with the states in the recently held conference?
24.
Sir, this is Gopi Krishnan from Pioneer. My question is, as far as in the Pragati project, the law and order, especially in the Naxal...
Which paper did you say?
Pioneer.
Pioneer.
And the Naxal affected areas where law and order is an issue which affects the implementation of Pragati projects, and the court stays in certain projects. How you analyze this after this 50th meeting?
Okay. So first, the numbers, would you like to...
So if you see the numbers, we had a slide on that as well. From 2021 to 2023, more than 2,600 issues were raised, and around the same number of issues have been resolved. Now, the issues are also, they also arise when there is a emphasis on the speed of implementation. If there is a pressure from the government to implement the project in a fast way, more issues will come. So the mere fact that more issues have been arisen in some years and not in other years probably should not give rise to any other inference. But the main point is more than 90% of the issues have been resolved. So whenever the issue is raised, we also track and land acquisition issue, how much time are they taking. We also have a monitor which says that in this state, this is the average time for issuance, for the resolution of the land acquisition issue, for the resolution of forest issue, and so on and so forth. And we try to compare them with the national average, with the neighboring states' average. So we basically try to prompt the states to resolve it. So, but as I said that between 21 and 23, there were a number of issues, but my sense is the completions or the commissioning was also higher this time. So that could be one reason. Most recently in the last 2 years, from 23 to 25, around 900 issues were raised and around 1,000 issues were resolved during this period.
Regarding land acquisition, there is no plan to change the land acquisition law. As regards states, so we have in fact in the last, the 50th Pragati meeting, specifically made a suggestion to state governments that the system that we have, the platform, the online platform that we have, we are happy to make it available for states also to do similar reviews at their level, either at the level of the Chief Secretary, Chief Minister. So the platform is available. It is open to them to use it for their own projects. As was explained earlier, our cutoff is 500 crores for our Pragati system. They can choose whatever cutoff they want at their state level. We are happy for it to be used. In fact, we are encouraging them to use it. I think 2 or 3 states have just started using this. So the states...
Andhra is using it, and then Odisha is also using it. They're using it in a very good way. Others are in different phases of implementation.
On the LWE issue, with the improving security situation, a whole lot of coordination has also been enabled through this system. So if I can just mention some statistics, there were about 8 projects in the heart of the LWE affected area. Out of it, 6 projects, because of the coordination elements, have either been completed in the last 6 months or is likely to be completed by March. And that will leave only 2 projects which will go into the later part of 2026. So it does enable coordination with security forces and the states also to happen through this mechanism. It flags a problem, so then people then come together to work towards problem resolution. The other issue we raised was about the court stays. When this issue gets raised, there is a problem solving that happens as a part of this exercise. If I can cite an example, so one particular case of Andhra Pradesh where this issue of court stays had come up, where because of the issue being raised in Pragati, the state government asked the Attorney General the Advocate General of the state to appear in court and get the issues resolved. So in a sense, This comes into the larger principle of cooperative federalism where everybody comes together to find a solution to a problem even in the presence of a court stay.
I have nothing to add to that excellent answer. So, yes, all right.
Thank you, sir. Now the third set is 45, 9 and 206. 45, 49, sorry, 206.
Sir,
45.
Prashant Sahu from Financial Express here.
Left side, sir.
So, land is the major issue as far as the project delay in project implementation is concerned. So, the government of India has a scheme, capex loan to the states, where you have a component that you incentivize states for digitization of land records and also, clear titling. So, has this scheme helped in addressing some of the issues faced in these projects, and whether the government intends to continue similar kind of schemes so that these issues are addressed in a better way?
Hi, sir. This is Vikas Dhoot from the Business Standard newspaper. I just have a couple of quick questions. One is to...
Oh, you've left the Hindu.
Sorry?
You said Business Standard. Achha.
Yeah, Business
Okay.
Standard. Sir, I've moved on from the Hindu. Yeah,
I see.
So, one, I wanted to understand, of course, the portal looks at, 500 crore plus projects, and the states have also been encouraged to, adapt such a system. But are states allowed to put up some projects of their own that might be stuck perhaps due to central government or other clearances that might be hindering it? One, and secondly, given that you mentioned that, the kind of problems and the kind of scale of projects that we are dealing with now than we were 10 years ago has evolved, do you see this eventually leading up to building state capacity to execute massive scale projects, like the Three Gorges Dam, or, the kind of unprecedented scale that we've seen? Do you see that leading up to some kind of institutional capacity for such projects? And just a corollary of that, are there, as you address these issues, do you also identify legislative and policy changes that might smoothen these things going forward? And last is just a clarification. The 85 lakh crore figure that we're talking about, does that include the 10.57 lakh crore of private sector projects cleared through the DPIIT?
Sanjeev from, yes, that's last.
Sir, Prakash Predashi from ET Now. As per the MOSPI's latest report, which is there on their website, on 1,500 infrastructure projects, cost overruns were over 4 lakh crore till August. Are these projects different from Pragati's domain? And how will government address this?
So first on capex loans to states for titling, etc. I mean, just because there are two former secretaries' expenditure here, we wouldn't know the current status. So you'll have to ask that in another forum. I don't have that information with me as to exactly what is the status of implementation of that. So if I knew, I would tell you, but I just don't know. I mean, I don't know what the present status is. Secondly, on the your first, you had about 5 questions, I think, Vikas Dhoot, no? Okay, so one was 500 crore plus was... so states can put up projects if they are approved projects, but they must meet the same 500 crore threshold. But it must be an approved project, not a proposed. Even ours, we only review projects that are actually sanctioned. So the proposal for a project cannot be reviewed in, but if there is a state project which is having issues, it is enabled. It can be done. On building state capacity, yes, actually this whole thing, somebody asked about templates. So that is how we build capacity. We look at projects, we look at a large sample of projects, we see certain common problems, common issues. We develop ways of tackling those problems, and that then builds capacity down the line so that the same problem is addressed better in future. But new problems can arise. So that is how we do build capacity. And it sometimes leads to legislative or policy changes, but I'm not able to, it's not coming to mind immediately. But for example, the Gati Shakti is a policy change, which is partly arising from the Pragati process. I'm told as Secretary DPIT that figure, would you like to clarify on the?
So these private sector project figures are separately maintained. The public sector are the separate figures.
So 85 does not include the, the 1,500 infrastructure projects on the MOSPI portal. It was, yes, that's right. So some of these may have been reviewed in Pragati, some may not, some would not. Some may, in fact, some are those which were reviewed in Pragati and some are not. So that distinction is, I can't give you that exact figure, which of these. No, but the subset is different. We are 500 plus, that is 150 plus. But 500 plus is also 150 plus. So there is an overlap, but I don't know the exact.
Thank you, sir. Thanks, Sanjeev.
Yeah. This is Sanjeev Chopra from PTI, sir. Here. Since Pragati talks about, enabling good governance and ensuring better governance, which project in these last 10 years, which has been the most vexed project that that Pragati has dealt with, you and the Prime Minister? And secondly, which states have contributed the maximum towards pending projects?
206 backside, पीछे जाइए 206 and 194 उसके बाद. After that we will take a last set.
Sir, Pragati, when...
Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm Rima Sharma. I'm working for a Pratham Khabar, Assamese news channel.
Okay.
Okay. So my question for the road, for the secretary road and railway as well as it is an Assam is a area of the fatal accident of the animal accident. Animal corridor is always related to the when project or commission or this thing. So is Pragati is look after of these issues, forest and animal corridor, especially the road and during commission the railway project and road project. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
54.
Good evening. I'm Nikunj Johri from Reuters. My question is to the Cabinet Secretary. Through the Pragati platform, have there been any learnings as to how public-private partnerships can be made more investor-friendly, especially when it comes to dispute redressals? And secondly, has there been any review or assessment on what steps that the government can further take, if at all, to increase private investments in the economy? Thank you.
That's it. Would any of you have a most vexed project? Because I don't want to. I think that Jammu Baramulla, that rail line, I think it easily qualifies as yes.
Easily qualifies that. And I can only mention when I met Honorable Honorable PM in 2024. Actually, even that time, Honorable PM mentioned that how much work is really left out, and I still remember that day it was 74 meter of the still to be tunneled through. I still remember that figure, and that day onward, and finally when it really come up, when it has come up on the June of 25, it is really the project which all of us are really proud of, and the train which is between Srinagar and Katra, I just wanted to mention. Now I've been told that people are not going only for the staying in Srinagar for the tourism purpose. A new kind of tourism has come up, that is a train tourism. What that is, the people are going in the train, they are coming back in the same train, they are being served with a very good cuisine by the Sarovar Portico chain. I think that is the way, I think the best service to then the people are just taking the advantage of all the valley throughout on the 2 and the 4 trip. I think what else best could be there from this beautiful project. Thank you. I can just mention that as far as this elephant corridor is concerned, just to mention, by the way, what the accident has happened last 20 days back, it was not the identified corridor, madam. But nevertheless, in the identified corridor, we are reducing the speed. That is one part of it, and also we are taking the help of the technology. So what we are having the intrusion detection system. What we have done, we have laid out the optical fiber cables. So whenever the elephant they move on that, one of the signature get changed. So that is one of the important point what we are considering. And it is not only in Assam. There are around 1,031 kilometers of such projects we have identified across Indian Railways. We will be completing it soon, and wherever other more corridors are being identified for any such reason, that also will cover up. And I am sure that with that, such problems will be further reduced.
Hi. So just to further add to what has been mentioned, I must mention that the wildlife clearance is also an aspect that is reviewed as part of Pragati. So in terms of road projects, certainly, wherever it hits an wildlife corridor or a wildlife preservation area or a forest where a animal corridor exists, the same mechanism as it exists for a forest clearance is gone through. So when we mention the word forest clearances here, it includes wildlife clearances, number one. And number two, as we have gone along, I think we have also improved our means of wildlife mitigation that needs to be done. The best example that I can think of is the example of Assam's Kaziranga project, where the project recently received the approval of the Union Cabinet, where this mechanism of constant consultations was gone through before we arrived at a mitigation measure. And that was partly because of the lessons of Pragati that we have seen in the past, where wildlife mitigation used to be a very problematic issue. We would not really think through it and get into the project and get into a problem while implementing the project. So now the preparatory actions, as it were, to ensure that these measures are taken in advance are included as part of the project cost and the project design, as Cabinet Secretary Sir was mentioning, that the better quality of DPR preparation, one of the major aspects that has been looked into is the wildlife mitigation measures. On the issue of the most vexed project on the roadway sector, certainly it has been the Delhi-Mumbai Expressway. And I think that has given us a whole lot of learnings which has led to a shift in the mechanism and the manner in which expressway corridors are being constructed across the country.
Thank you. On public-private partnership projects, anything you'd like to say, either of you, power or...
All of our transmission projects are basically, which are bid out, essentially public-private partnership projects. We are regularly putting up the transmission projects for review under Pragati. Very recently, actually, in the last Pragati meeting also, a transmission project was reviewed, which is an interconnection between southern region and western region. The previous meeting, yes, another transmission project, Khetri-Narela, was reviewed. It was a long-awaited project. Most of you who are following the power sector, they are aware of the importance of that corridor. So it's a very regular feature, and we'll be putting up more and more projects and for the review. Thank you.
And on the DPIIT on private investment, increase in private investment.
So there are a number of steps which are being taken across the government. The biggest one is with regard to deregulation, on which
I think through Pragati.
Through Pragati, by resolution of issues only, investments, increase in investments, improvement in investments is seen. But the number of private sector projects which have been resolved, as I gave the figures, that should indicate the amount of investments which are over 500 crores, which are flowing into this. I'll repeat those figures. 862 projects with a total amount of 10.57 lakh crores, these are being monitored under the PMG portal.
I'll add just on this increase in private investment point that the greater confidence in timely execution of particularly road projects has enabled larger investment, both domestic and foreign, into the various vehicles like InvITs, including they have excuse me, they have their own InvIT and there are other InvITs also. So there is a marked increase in interest in infrastructure finance vehicles like InvITs, it is indirectly related to a greater confidence in project execution, because you need to know that your project will actually get completed and earn tolls and so on. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
States with maximum, that.
Okay, so we do monitor the states. Usually from the cabinet secretariat level, we have one meeting for each state at least once in a quarter. So some states have more pendency. It will not be fair to take the names, because it also depends on how many projects are being implemented there. If some state has less number of projects, issues will be less. Some states have more projects. Secondly, the type of issues. For example, as we've seen, land acquisition, forest clearances do take time. So states which have a lot of mining projects will have more issues as compared to states which only have a national highway going through them, which is relatively easier to resolve.
Thank you, sir. So, please allow for the last set 4 questions at least, so that it will be over. So starting with the PTI 339, then I'll come to.
So Sagar Kulkarni from PTI, so yeah.
That's right.
So the World Bank report mentioned that the Pragati platform can be replicated by other countries as well. So has this topic figured in the Prime Minister's discussions or your discussions with your counterparts?
46, 26, 46, both. 46.
Good evening, gentlemen. This is Chetan Bhotani from the India Today Group. My question is to the Cabinet Secretary that we saw that the various cost overhangs for infrastructure project lies in the environment clearances and in the land acquisition. You just mentioned that there is no change in the land acquisition policy as of now, but the government is clearly working on deregulation.
I did not say as of now. You said.
Okay, no. I mean, you mentioned that there is no thinking behind it as of correct. No. So, but the government is clearly working on deregulation and other simplified licenses and other stuff also. So why not overhaul a policy, or overall these 2 policies in particular, and make simplification with respect to acquisition of land and environment clearances possible?
46.
Sir, this is Deepak Mandal from New Indian Express. Sir, on the quality issue, what is the mechanism under Pragati to address the quality issues? Because quality of infrastructure projects have come under question a lot.
239, right side, yes.
सर अजय फ्रॉम दूरदर्शन न्यूज़. सर बैंकिंग इंश्योरेंस एंड रेरा इन प्रोजेक्ट्स को लेकर के क्या प्रगति में कुछ हमारे पास फिगर्स हैं जिनमें हम कह सकते हैं कि इतने कंप्लेंट्स या फिर ग्रीवेंसेस रिजॉल्व हुई हैं और किस तरह से हुई हैं सर? थैंक यू.
एंड द लास्ट क्वेश्चन इज सामने आ दीजिए बस. थैंक यू.
सर मैं संजीव राठी यूएनआई वार्ता से. आपने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स का तो बताया किस तरह की समस्याएं आती हैं. वेलफेयर स्कीम्स जो हैं उसमें किस तरह की मोटी मोटी समस्याएं आती हैं. एक जो प्रोजेक्ट्स टोटल प्रोजेक्ट्स में से कितना परसेंट, कुछ ऐसा आइडिया है कितना परसेंट प्रगति इनिशिएटिव में जाता है. और एक बात ये थी सर कि जो प्रोजेक्ट्स की इम्प्लीमेंटेशन की जो प्रक्रिया है, क्या उसमें इतने लूप होल्स हैं क्या कि जो हमें ये प्रोजेक्ट्स इसके लिए इसमें डिस्कशन के लिए और अप्रूवल के लिए इस इनिशिएटिव में ले जाने पड़ते हैं प्रगति में?
So replication in other countries, it is, I think, something that we should be taking up. I'm not aware if it has actually been taken up with any country yet, but I think it certainly offers a lot of potential. You're right, and I think that is something that we should be looking at. The question on land, and what was the question again? India Today? No, I think, look, India is a democracy. There are interests of completing a project, but there are interests of people whose land is affected. Similarly, we want infrastructure, we also want a good environment. So it is in the very nature of this thing that there is a balance, and there will be issues. It is never black and white. So I'm not sure that any fundamental revisit of processes is, in fact, I think these are going to happen in any democratic society. There's no democratic country where these projects will be implemented. You know, if we were a country where we can throw people out of their land, and there are some countries like that, or where you can, simply do what you want, those countries may be able to implement faster. But we don't want to be in that situation. We want to implement with consultation, with consent, and with public involvement. So I'm not sure that we really need to embark on regulatory reforms on these fundamental issues of public consultation, etc. Yes, here and there are procedural improvements that can be done, and they are done from time to time. But fundamentally, I don't see any need for changes there. There was on quality of, yes, that I will leave some of you to answer that.
Quality of issues, yes, I think this concern about quality has come up and been expressed in many fora. Although Pragati directly would not get into issues of quality, but nevertheless there is this element of quality that comes into the process of Pragati itself. Part of it is also to ensure that the entire project timelines get smoothened out. Any project that gets delayed in some way or the other hits quality issues. And to that extent, if projects are done in time or at least in reasonable time, then in that case issues of quality also get reduced, and there is a fairly direct correlation between cost overruns, time overruns with respect to quality of projects that are coming up. In general, the issue of quality that exists, yes, and there are several deliberations that happen, and there are several initiatives that are also being taken from time to time. The endeavor is to deliver the best quality. We are still to reach there, but I'm sure we'll reach there.
Especially in railways, I just wanted to mention, we have got a vast network of engineers there. So we use them for a quality checks. That has been mandated as a part of their duty. And we, even at a level of general managers, DRMs, and even at my level when I go, I really check it. We've got different ways to check it also. We are also contemplating to hire few consultants, especially for quality checks, that also in an initial stage of discussions. So that also we'll have. We also are having the inter-zonal quality audit done for the station development, that also. So that everything is in place, and we keep things in a tight control, and whenever there is a quality issue, we really go in a very hard way, and we really take very exemplary punishments for against the contractor as well as against the officials who approve such things, whether they are in the construction stage or in the final stage. I can just assure you that. Thank you.
And there was a question on RERA. So, in fact, RERA was taken up for the Prime Minister's Pragati review about 6 or 9 months back. And what it looked at is what is the status of implementation of RERA in various states. There were states where the authority posts were vacant, they had not been activated, complaints were pending, registrations were pending, and after that there's been a substantial improvement in the activation of RERA as a vibrant regulator. There's been a dramatic improvement. Most of the vacancies have been filled. The number of projects registered in the last 6 months has been very substantial. I think in a number of states we have seen a substantial improvement. I don't have the figures with me today. Banking and insurance, Jan Dhan Yojana was reviewed some years ago, and a lot of implementation issues which were identified have since been rectified, and now we have a fairly, we get very few grievances now on the Jan Dhan Yojana, or even on the insurance schemes like the Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, etc. They have all sort of fallen into a successful pattern of implementation, with the teething troubles having been ironed out at an earlier stage. On welfare schemes, so you would like to, he will give you an example.
Just before that, sir, on the process reform, the question was about acquisition of land. So the CAPSEC mentioned that wherever there is a need, we do carry out process reforms. In this case, the forest and environment issues used to take a long time earlier. Now the recent data shows that the average issue resolution time is 75 days, whereas it used to be around 600 days earlier. So there is a lot of work has been done in smoothing the issues about forest and wildlife clearance. Another thing which I want to point out here is that the coordination has also helped in saving of forest land, in less cutting of the forest. There was a project in Karnataka that we recently saw. Because of an alternate alignment, thousands of trees were saved. And recently, the Ministry of Environment and Forest has also come up with a new procedure wherein at the time of planning of the project, whether it be a railway project or any other project, the local forest officers will also be a part of the team that assesses that. So they will try to help out and try to find out an alignment which causes the least environmental forest damage, at the same time getting the work done. Now coming specifically to the welfare schemes, recently the Matra Vandana scheme was reviewed in this. There were a lot of pendency at the state level, various states, and a lot of people will not able to get benefit of this Matra Vandana Yojana. Then the ministry, along with the states, they launched a campaign to identify the people who were eligible for Matra Vandana benefits. And I think it was in this 2025, around from January to around April, a large number of cases were made, money was sanctioned, and benefits were given. At the same time, taking care that only the genuine beneficiaries get the benefit. So this is essentially a benefit-oriented, beneficiary-oriented scheme, wherein certain benefits are given to pregnant women. And so that was done. Earlier there was PM Jan Arogya Yojana was also monitored in Pragati. The idea is also to motivate the states to look at the scheme once more, and because most of the work in these welfare schemes is done by the state governments. So as was mentioned that the chief secretaries are there in the PM's meeting. So we also try to monitor the progress later on. But the idea is that the chief secretaries in the states in a coordinated fashion will have to make all attempts to get the benefits to the eligible people.
You had a question on the percentage. I don't have an exact, but I can give you a very rough percentage. Out of 3,300 plus projects which are of the threshold that qualifies for the Pragati, which we were showed in one of the slides, about 382 have been reviewed. So at the PM's level, it is approximately 10%, and a larger percentage at the lower levels. And you mentioned about loopholes. So, I mean, what I would say is, if there are things to be learnt in terms of procedural improvement, etc., we have referred to that. That we keep learning as we see new issues. If they are of a common nature, we come out with revised procedures, improvements, etc. But some of the things, such as when we talk about land acquisition, these are not loopholes. I mean, they are processes of consultation which will have to be gone through project after project. It's a question of finding a better alignment, finding a better way of doing things. It will have to be done again and again. It's not something which can get a permanent fix. With this, there will never again be a problem of land acquisition, or that will not happen. So some things can be fixed, some things are part of project execution. What Pragati does is, it is early identification and early resolution. Rather than, if you leave things at the local level, some of these things are very difficult to resolve, because people at the local level may not have the authority to solve the problem. So by escalating it to the right level, they get resolved. And that is something which will need to be done.
I just wanted to mention about the process simplification. A government land is there, we acquire it, but after some time, if you come to know, part of it is in forest, so it has to go for a separate process in the Parivesh. So based on the discussions with the various groups, what now we have decided, at a time when we go the land acquisition of the government part, at that time, forest official will also be part of that joint measurement, and the proper procedure has been issued for MOEFF. So these are the processes simplification, and it really helps a lot. This has been only one example. Second example I wanted to mention, the stage 1 clearances. Initially, we were not allowed to really start the work. After we have given the detailed justification for that, I can just mention you, we can really start many of the activities before the stage 2 clearance comes. So these are the really things, and when really issues come up, we really find out how we can do it in the framework, what framework can be changed, and then we sit together. Even the matters related to the earth availability, when the issue related to the many states, a proper protocol, proper SOP has been made, I think, and then each state has got a complete website, complete procedure, how it can be approved and who will give what collector responsibility will be. I think these are the major input to the process inspection. Once these are done, I think if a land acquisition has to take 1 year, it will take 1 year, but I think it will be bad if it takes more than 1 year. So that is where what we are wanting to address.
So on the whole of government approach, and this is an initiative which was jointly led by the Ministry of Railways and the Ministry of Road Transport, to work on a whole of government approach to ensure that all railway crossings, the approval process gets speeded up. So similar to Parivesh, a mechanism has been set up and it's been working well, where issues of all clearances get mutually settled through a portal mechanism right down to the level at which the inspection happens. So it is an offshoot of Pragati only in a sense.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, friends, for